This video is kind of long, but I talk about really awesome topics like parenting, setting boundaries, communication, self-acceptance, anger, expressing emotions, and the dangers of not processing past hurts or trauma. All things that I got from the movie Turning Red. I think it's Disney Pixar. Also, I just wanted to remind everyone that while this video does contain a lot of information about what we can do, what can use in our everyday life to help our healing journey, and improve our mental health, it is not a replacement for therapy. Again, it's not a replacement for therapy. So that being said, hello, my name is Elizabeth and I am from Psychology for Geeks, bringing you another video on geek culture and mental health. Today I'm going to be talking about Disney Pixar's movie Turning Red. Please keep in mind that I'm really excited to do this video, so I kind of skipped the whole editing process and I didn't want to forget anything, so I am reading off of my computer. So yeah. So I'm not going to be paying attention much. Anyway, so there are about 6 different messages that I took away from the movie or that I was reminded of when I watched it. So I want to try to talk about them really briefly and point out some of the scenes, I guess, or how I saw it when portrayed in the movie. Also, I want to provide some tips on how we can start or continue our healing process if we are experiencing some of the same problems or concerns that I talk about that I saw in the movie. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is parenting. Now, there's tons of things that you can take from the movie when it comes to parenting, but the one that I want to focus on is that parents love us, but sometimes they don't express that love in the way that we need. So May and her mother portrayed this throughout the whole movie. They love each other, of course they did, but they just kind of did whatever they thought the other person wanted from them without clarification or without really fully understanding what it is that the other person truly wanted. So um if you're experiencing something like this where you feel like your parents are not responding to you in the way that you need in the moment, then we have this concept of reparenting yourself. So it's basically finding ways to give yourself advice, love, or whatever it is that you needed that your parents didn't give you while you were growing up, or things that you didn't have growing up. So it's time for you to focus on yourself and what it is that you need. And if our parents are still with us, then we can try talking to our parents and asking them specifically for what it is that we need them from them. So when we're struggling, we need a specific type of love, or wait, let me backtrack a little bit. So we all have a different love language, right? And sometimes our parents don't fully understand what ours is. Sometimes we don't even understand what our own love language is. So in situations like that, I think it's really important for us to reflect what it is that we need. I think we also understand or receive love from someone in a specific way, and we show our love or express it in a different way. So for example, one person who really likes receiving gifts from their loved ones because that's how they feel appreciated and valued and loved, may express their love doing acts of service as opposed to giving gifts. That's kind of what I'm talking about. So anyway, what the other thing that I wanted to talk about was setting boundaries, which kind of comes with the parenting as well. Now, in many cultures where family is one of the most important things, or if not the most important, it may be really hard sometimes to set boundaries because we truly understand that our parents do love us and they want what's best for us. So we don't want to set those boundaries, or we don't want to say no to them. There's a line in the movie where one of May's friends says that she was brainwashed. May was brainwashed by her mother to cleaning and working at the temple. Now we eventually see that May does like spending time with her mother, but she has no boundaries. So her mother follows her to school and sort of basically just steamrolls her the whole time with whenever the mother is concerned. So May does value spending time with her parents, but she has no boundaries with them. She can't really spend a lot of time or as much time as she wants with her friends. So because of that, she kind of swings in one direction. She either spends all her time with her parents to make them happy, or she like rebels and spends all her times with like her friends. So if you're finding it difficult to set boundary with your parents, I think it's important for us to remind ourselves that because just because we're setting boundaries with family members doesn't mean that we're bad or that we are ungrateful to them or we don't love them, right? Sometimes we need time to recharge or to do things to make us happy. So we need to set those boundaries. This is something that I kind of struggle with too. So from my own personal experience, I think taking it baby steps, it's kind of like the way to go with this. Just start with little things like saying, yes, I'll do that. Just give me 5 minutes so I can finish this, and then I'll take care of that. So there is expectation. Yes, I heard what you're saying, and I need to complete this, or I need 10 more minutes to finish this, and then I can go ahead and do what it is that you're asking me to do. That way, the way the parent doesn't feel that we're just ignoring them completely, or like that we don't care. And sometimes it does we do need to take a step back from family. So maybe we need to spend time alone, or go to therapy, or find a supportive community outside. Like May, she found her friends who were like extremely supportive of her expressing herself in a way that she felt comfortable, like outside. That was like a support system outside of her home. And the other thing too is that we have to practice. We have to practice setting boundaries. And sometimes it's a lot easier for us to start practicing setting boundaries with someone that we feel safe with someone who we know will understand, and won't like just blow up or overreact if we say no or say in a little bit. Um, so the other thing I wanted to talk about was communication, which kind of goes with setting boundaries, because you need to communicate when you're setting boundaries. So throughout the whole movie, we saw tons of different instances in which May and her mother, or just like a bunch of different characters in the movie, they weren't communicating, and so that caused a lot of problems, and that was kind of also the whole plot of the movie. Like when she was interested in the news clip about her favorite band, when she wanted to keep the Red Panda spirit, or when she wanted to go to the concert, or she wanted to spend more time with her friends to go karaoke. Um, so I'm kind of bad at communicating too, especially when it comes to things that make me feel vulnerable. And it can be really difficult for us to like start communicating or have open communication with other people if we feel the topic is too vulnerable or too personal for us. So again, we start with baby steps, right? And something that kind of did help me, or a lot of the tips that I'm going to be talking about just now, they heavily depend on, like, we have to reflect and practice them a lot. So one of the things that we need to be aware of is our own body language when we are communicating with the other person. What's our body also saying? What is our tone of voice or volume of voice? Are we paying attention to the words that we're using? Because when we're angry, sometimes we say things we don't mean, or we're using words that can be really harmful and have the opposite effect of what we actually want. So we kind of have to reflect on that. One of my favorite tips is using I statements when communicating with another person or when setting boundaries. Saying things like I think or I feel, instead of saying things like you are making me feel or you are being loud. We are communicating our own perception, right? Because we can communication is hard sometimes, so we can perceive the message a little differently than the person who's trying to than the messenger, right? um, so saying things like I feel like I am being attacked at this moment and I need some time alone, or like I feel like I can continue with this conversation. It's a lot different than saying, well, you are accusing me of this, or like we're not blaming anybody, we're just saying this is what I'm experiencing at this moment, right? And so it kind of brings us to the next point. I wanted to talk about self-acceptance, and specifically, or more specifically, the thought of I am not good enough. We see that like throughout the movie too. um so sometimes accepting ourselves and expressing that can be difficult when our loved ones or the ones that we think should be there for us and understand us don't. Like May's parents, they didn't know about her friends or crushes or hobbies. Um, they didn't know about any of that, and they didn't accept that side of her because they want. When I say they, I really mean just her mom. Her dad was kind of really supportive. Apparently, a great cook, but he was kind of like more of a background character. But yeah, I was saying. Oh yeah. So May's mom really wanted the best, what was best for her. So she pushed her in like May in the direction she thought was best for her. Um, but that kind of goes along with the next point where it just became really difficult and it didn't help any. It didn't help May's mom. It didn't help May. Um, like their own self-acceptance because they couldn't really express their emotions or they didn't feel like it was safe for them to do so. So then that kind of led to having a lot of repressed emotions, and which kind of led to like explosion of anger, or like it can also lead, not necessarily in the movie, but in everyday life, it can we can lead to isolating ourselves or feeling anxious or like just starting to feel depressed and a bunch of like other things. So um yeah, accepting who we are and the mistakes that we make um is a difficult process. But we can start by using positive statements in our everyday life, reflecting often of who we are, what we're doing, and what it is that we truly value in life, and having that supportive community, right? It can be friends, family, your D&D group, your church group, whatever, just as long as it's a support system that you have. Um, where you feel safe to be yourself and to express yourself. So we also need to find ways to express our anger and communicate our feelings. So that was kind of like the solution to May and her mother's problems, right? Um, they both had this thought of, oh, I'm not good enough. May thought that she was never going to be good enough for her mother. And then her mother also believed the same thing about her own mother. And then she was also carrying the guilt of having hurt her own mother. So, for them the solution to their problem was accepting that it was okay to not be perfect, it was okay to make mistakes, and it was okay to communicate and express ourselves to our loved ones. um and let's see. So yeah, it's important for us to find ways to safely express our emotions. So I can just sit here all day and tell you that exercise, journaling, going to therapy, listening or creating music, talking to a good friend, spending time in nature, meditating, tons and tons of other things that can be really helpful for us. But so I guess my recommendation would be to try different things and see what works for you and what you really like. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about or mention for this video is probably the most important one of out of all of these. I think so. In the movie, May's mother had beef with her mom because of something I kind of forgot exactly, and I didn't want to go back to watch the movie, which I probably will at some point. But I think there was some miscommunication. The grandmother didn't like May's dad, and May's mother ended up like harming her. Like she had the scar and everything when she had turned into her red panda spirit. So anyway, so that was the beef, and because that issue wasn't resolved, it kind of got carried over to the new generation. It got carried over to May. um, so it's very important for us to acknowledge and to process, past hurts and trauma experiences that we had in the past to prevent them from being pushed down to the next generation. So it is difficult. I'm not saying it's easy. Those are things that sometimes we've pushed to the side, we don't want to talk about, we just kind of buried deep down in our subconscious. But I think it's really important for us, in order for us to move forward, we need to set down those things that we've been carrying. So those hurts, those traumatic experiences, those miscommunications, or you know, the beef we may be having with other family members, if it's not really addressed, it can be really heavy for us to just continue carrying that, and it may be something we pass down to the next generation. So now, kind of going along with that, seeking professional help or therapy, it can it can be really helpful, sometimes even necessary for us to move forward in our healing journey. So because of that, it's very important for us to find someone that we feel comfortable with. There's all kinds of different therapists out there that have different types of experiences and expertise, and they do therapy slightly a different way. And now with telehealth, well, that's in the US. I'm not really sure about other countries how that works, but you can seek. It's possible to seek a therapist outside of the area that you live, so it doesn't have to be driving distance anymore, because you can just do video calls with your therapist. So if you identify as a geek, or you love really geeky things, you might benefit from reaching out to a geek therapist. Geek therapy is all about you seeing the things that we love in therapy, so we can feel more comfortable, we can connect with the therapist and understand things a little bit easier. So yeah, I do want to hear from you. What was the takeaway message that you got from the movie Turning Red? What was the one that spoke to you the most? Yeah, I want to know. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Psychology for Geeks. You can also check out my website, also psychologyforgeeks.com, or my social media. If you want more geek therapy content. Oh yeah, and don't forget to hit that bell so then you can be the first to know when I publish a new video. All right, I'll see you guys next time.